Hello, it's your financial friend Maggie. Welcome to the Inside Out Money Podcast.
Hey, Erica.
Hi, Maggie.
How's it going?
It's going all right. How are you doing?
Dude, we are living the dream because we can sit here and smile at each other and not act like we just spent, not that anyone's counting, but 72 minutes troubleshooting what is wrong with a particular USB microphone.
Yeah, it was 72 minutes. That is like
Well,
real
I was
commitment.
10 minutes late, if you recall.
Yes. I did sit here for
Being
10
like,
minutes.
This is ridiculous. Being like,
Yeah, but
Maggie's
then-
fired.
Right, but then I was fired because the remaining 52 minutes were
What's
62 minutes.
I felt so bad being 10 minutes late. And then I was like, well, I mean, that was overshadowed by all the tech issues. So
Yeah, I was like, I'll see you're 10 minutes late and I'll do you one
raise
up.
you. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna segue that into welcome to Inside Out Money. This is a personal finance podcast focused on redefining wealth from the inside out. Every week, I speak with a rotating set of co-hosts about a different financial topic to help you improve your financial mindset and tactics. Today, we have co-host Erica here. She's on a different mic, a backup mic, and we're going to talk about this thing called the Chimp Paradox. This is a psychological model developed by this psychiatrist dude. He doesn't go by dude, he goes by Dr. Steve Peters. He did this TED Talk once, I don't even know, a while ago. And he really simplified how the human mind works. And he laid out this paradox that lies in the conflict between the emotional chimp and the rational human. And we'll get more into this, but the idea is this chimp is much faster and stronger, and it often hijacks our thoughts and actions before the human in us can actually intervene. So while we can't control the reality that we have this chimp in our mind, we are able to more responsibly manage it. And I think the first thing is understanding it and knowing how it works. So we're going to get into this whole concept, this chimp paradox thing, and apply it to how it impacts why we spend money when we know we shouldn't.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued by this topic because this is something we kind of had a side conversation about with Andrew of how do you stay true to your knowing you shouldn't spend money on things? And he's like, I just don't. And we're
it's
that's
Andrew
not...
doesn't have a chimp in his head, but we do.
That's why I would like to have this conversation be ongoing with him because he was like, I just don't do it. And I was like, that's so weird and foreign to me. It's I know not to eat the burger, but I still do it. And
yeah,
this chimp idea is so fascinating to me because when I was listening to a shortened version of the TED Talk, which was a nice little intro because I would love to dive deeper into this. It sounds like this guy has a lot of books that are going to be very quickly going on my Libby list. I pictured the little symbol monkey that usually shows up in horror films that
this is
when
when
he
you
gets
wish
excited,
this was
he's
a video podcast because you would see Erica and I beating our symbols and acting like a chimp with the monkey symbols. Not the monkey symbols, the hand symbols.
Yeah, the hand symbols that the little monkey holds. So I imagine me being somewhere of I know this is a terrible idea, and the little symbol monkey going
then you see
getting
that,
you all riled up, and you're
see that cat sweatshirt, and
yes,
you're the symbols are going off, and they're get it, Erica, get it. Yeah,
I'm Googling symbol monkey.
Well, so what's funny is when I heard the chimp term and reference, which we'll explain a little bit more, and we will include a link to the TED Talk, which is on YouTube. When I heard it, I thought about the monkey mind. Have you heard the term monkey mind?
Yeah.
It's very popular in the Buddhist philosophy, and it describes the state of our mental restlessness and anxiety and lack of control over our thoughts. When you sit there quietly trying to meditate, your monkey mind takes over and it's just thinking about what you have to do later, what you did yesterday, something you were annoyed about from last week. All these thoughts come up that you arguably, can't control. And that's your monkey mind taking over, even though you can control it over time, right? So the idea that our mind kind of jumps from one thought to another without a clear purpose, that's the monkey mind taking over. And so I think it's a very similar concept in many ways, or, a sister concept in many ways. And it's not a bad thing, right? I think the chimp thing is the same thing. The monkey mind's not a bad thing. It's all about recognizing it, recognizing that it is not helpful. It's natural, but it's not helpful. It is a normal thing that happens in the human mind. And the goal is to recognize it and use some of these abilities we have and can grow and develop and improve upon over time, which like neuroscience has proven is possible, to quiet that monkey mind, or in this case, like not listen to the chimp.
Yeah, and I think you said something that's the biggest thing for us to recognize, and that is being able to recognize it in the first place. And that gives you and us control and agency over how we are doing these things. So if you're able to recognize this chimp that's banging its cymbals, making you go crazy for making a poor financial choice, and you can say, is that my rational mind? Is that my human mind? Or is that my chimp mind?
Yeah.
Going nuts on those symbols. It helps you kind of say, like, take a step back of like, is this something that I actually want to be engaging in where I feel like I am in control of this? And if the answer is yes, then you're making a good choice for yourself. But when you can pull yourself back enough to just have the space to recognize that this is the chimp that is taking control of you, that's where you can really start seeing a difference.
Yeah, totally. And so for those of you who still are like, okay, like explain to me this concept more, let's take a beat and explain it to people. So the idea in more detail, which again, you can go watch this, like, I think it's like 13 minutes, or if you watch it on 1.5 or 2 times speed, you can get it down to, 6 to 8 minutes. And which, by the way, hopefully people know they can do that on YouTube. It's like an amazing feature. You can do that on a lot of video apps now. You can increase the speed of a video just like you could do in podcasts and other audio formats. I hope you're listening to us at a really sped up format. So now that I'm talking fast, it's really going to mess with you. Okay, that was just for fun. But so this guy in the video, this guy who is a psychiatrist, he's a doctor. His name's Steve Peters, and he's giving a TED Talk, and he explains that we have 3 parts of our mind. What he calls the human part of our mind, which is rational and logical. The chimp part of our mind, which is emotional and reactive, and the computer part of our mind, which is the machine that stores beliefs and habits. And his point is the chimp is very powerful, and it often takes over, giving us unwanted thoughts and feelings. And when the chimp takes over, that's when, impulsive spending decisions are made. That's when we have anxiety about certain things. And to be able to use this framework, and we'll talk more about kind of what he shares in it, but it can actually help us to stop letting our chimp mind take over and to stop sabotaging our financial goals. Because I could point to so many times when I know, if I'm using, this reference that Dr. Peters has come up with, that I know my chimp mind has taken over, right? I see an Instagram ad, it's late at night, I'm tired, I'm reactive, I'm emotional, I am like, oh, cool, that would make me happy. That's gonna like really, bring some joy to my life. And then it arrives, a week later, I kind of forgot I even ordered it. It's now a hassle. I've got to return it. Liz and I recently recorded an episode on returns, and like there's a lot of stuff that goes into returns, right? There's all the emotional baggage that comes with like a new purchase, right? And your chimp mind's not thinking about that. Your chimp mind is not thinking about your financial goals and the fact that you've been really committed to having less stuff in your life, and that this thing is not going to make you happy in the long term, and it's not the example you want to set for your kids. Like all these things that your human mind and your future goals and your more rational, logical mind knows. The chimp mind is doing the exact opposite.
Yeah, I think the chimp mind is like almost like an inner child or something, like you're trying to feed that. Like you use the example of a Instagram ad late at night, and I've had to recognize if I'm on like Pinterest or something and something's advertised to me in these certain spaces, like just setting a rule for myself, like I don't buy things from ads that I'm seeing on social media. Like I have to set that for myself of just like, I just don't do this. That's the trap.
I would like to now make that rule, by the way.
Yeah.
My body is not a trash can. It's one of my new rules. And I don't buy things from ads on social media. I heard someone else say that recently on a podcast. Did you hear the Minimalist say that?
No, which is interesting because
I know you've been listening to them. Yeah.
Well, I've been getting their newsletter, but I haven't had the time to listen. But that's interesting that they said that because I made that rule for myself a while ago, especially when a friend of mine said she like bought like a rug from an ad she saw on social media and she thought it was like she just did it very quickly, and it was some crappy company, and so their return policy was terrible, but she thought it was like a full-size rug for her living room, and it was basically a doormat.
Like a really expensive doormat.
Pretty
It's
much,
like a good
yeah.
price for a rug, terrible
Right.
price for a doormat. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, when you made the comparison to kids, kids lack impulse control, right? So when you think about it, yeah, kids are much more emotional in their responses. Like they don't have fully developed brains, right? There's all these, things. And so I think the idea is this, obviously we're talking about financial stuff since this is a financial podcast. So, the idea of like constantly letting that chimp be in charge is sabotaging a lot of our goals and things we want to do in life. And I'll give you an example and then we'll tie back to the money piece. And this is, I guess, financial and health related. But like, I often notice lately how quickly I can change my tune. I'll be like very committed to a goal of like, I'm trying to eat less sugar and I'm trying to spend less money at Starbucks and I'm trying to buy, constantly like less often justify like treats for myself, and I will be having like a very good, what I would consider like disciplined day. And I know I'm feeling better as a result of it. And then I'm like driving somewhere and something pops up or there's something just in my house that the kids bring into the house. And I'm all of a sudden like, well, I'm going to have to eat that now. I've seen it. And it's like the chimp takes over before I even have a chance to fully think about it. And it sabotages, and it so quickly can sabotage and change what I myself wanted and was very committed to doing like seconds ago. And I think that's why I compare it to like the monkey mind concept, because the monkey mind is it's constantly popping up, right? And like you made the reference to like the chimp with the cymbals, right? Right? It's just constantly banging those cymbals, and you gotta bang something else louder. That's maybe a terrible metaphor, but you get the idea.
Yeah, we got to come up with something that you're like silencing that cymbal monkey who's like really trying to distract you from your goals.
Some noise canceling headphones. Yeah.
Yeah.
So tying it back to finances, when we think about, when we let our chimp mind take over, we are making emotional spending decisions. So that chimp loves instant gratification, right? It is convincing us that buying something new will make us happy, even if it puts us further into debt or if it takes us further away from financial goals we've set for ourselves or budgets we've set. What's the other word for budgets you were talking about recently?
Spending plan.
Spending plan. If it takes us off our spending plan. And it is operating on feelings and quick impressions, not like facts and logic and commitment and like discipline to goals we have set for ourselves.
Yeah, I was trying to, because I did watch the full TED Talk because you were like, it's really long. So I was looking for like a 2-hour TED Talk and I was like, oh, it's 13 minutes. This isn't that long. And then I was like, that's the one that you
That was the whole one. Yeah.
sped through. It was too much for you. This
Well,
is
but
like,
I just don't, I'm like, I've really got like ADHD. Like I really can't listen to things on normal speed anymore. Like I have
my
to speed it up.
brain can't process them if they're too fast. Like I'm like, how do I slow them down so I can hang on their every word?
Oh, maybe that would
but
be
this
good
is
for
like
me.
a lot of the work that I'm like doing on myself anyway, is like to get rid of these like beliefs and these thoughts that come in your head that you don't want to be thinking about. So watching that today came at a really good time. I think it's really just recognizing what's in charge. And so if it's really just silencing the chimp or putting the chimp in the box. And that's the good, like recognizing that there is like a psychological thing that is causing this. There is something more in charge than we believe, than we give agency to.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just like us making poor decisions. There is the chimp part of our brain, because there's like the amygdala. If we take the science into it, like the amygdala and then some other part of the brain that I clearly did not pay attention to when watching this TED Talk. So recognizing that and then finding the patterns and recognizing when it's a chimp at work versus like our human rational brain.
Yeah.
And then that's where the action items come in. I mean, you brought up the Buddhist thing, which is why when he's talking about the chimp, it's hard not to think about the monkey mind.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like in one of the authors I read, he talks about as your inner roommate who's like voicing these things in your head. So it ties into like the thoughts that are going on in your head, where it's like you are those thoughts, like that is you, but there's also someone else in there. And so just recognizing that you are not your thoughts, you are not these things, and quieting. But that just goes back to like meditation.
The other interesting thing, Erica, and some of these are like some stats from the video he shared. The chimp is 5 times stronger than the human, right? First, the chimp is automatic. It kicks in before the human is even like there, the human part of our brain is ready and willing and able to respond. The chimp is 5 times stronger. The chimp often gets, he says, the quote, first bite, and it acts immediately when messages enter the brain. And it says that they estimate the chimp is in charge about 90% of the day.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's
That
the
explains.
startling part.
Doesn't that explain a lot, though?
Well, yes, and it's like scary. We just started watching 28 Days Later, which is a zombie movie, from 20 years ago.
We as in like the kids, or?
No, the landlord and I did, but the boy one wanted to watch it, and they just had like a 28 Years Later come out, and so we were like, well, if you're going to watch that, let's watch the first one, and so we'll rewatch it, and it starts with a chimp who's been filled with rage, and that's like going nuts in this lab, and this is what I'm picturing going on inside my brain is this chimp trying to get out of the lab. That's what's happening in my brain 90% of the time.
Yeah.
Which is really frightening.
Yeah, it's not inaccurate. I mean, it even says like the chimp is causing unwanted thoughts, feelings such as anxiety, worries, concern about pleasing others. I mean, this is you could reframe this into mindfulness, right? Mindfulness is all around quieting the monkey mind and what we were talking about. And Dr. Peters also says, the chimp often puts like rubbish or gremlins. He's I think British, so he says rubbish, but or gremlins, like silly beliefs and actions, into the computer piece of our mind, which again is like the parietal lobe. Is that the right way to say it? It's like the machine that runs the system, and it stacks the odds against the human. The frontal lobe, right, the rational and logical part of our brain, it stacks the odds against that succeeding. And so I think what we really want to focus on in this discussion too is what are some actionable steps to put the chimp back in its box, wherever its box is, right? Metaphorical box, symbolic box, whatever.
Symbol box.
Yeah. We don't want to kill the chimp, to be clear, because that would be mean. We want to quiet the chimp.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, this goes to meditation. We're quieting the chimp. We're quieting the monkey mind. We're quieting that part of our brain that takes control and hijacks our decision making.
And we have a choice, right? The human part of our brain has a choice on whether we want to listen to the chimp or not. I can recognize this recently when I see myself, like the example I gave before of like, I'm having a good day. I'm feeling very disciplined and like in charge of is the wrong word, but like in line with how I want to live and who I want to be. And then something comes out of nowhere. And all of a sudden, before I even realize it, I've been sort of hijacked and like, but I see the choice. I can like feel the choice where I'm like, it was a split second when I like detoured that way instead of that way. And so I think it's important to remind ourselves like we are in charge and we do have a choice. Right? And we can recognize the chimp. And this is the actionable piece, right? We need to recognize who is in charge. And when we notice that impulse or that feeling or those emotions taking over, we have to ask ourselves, first off, remember we're in charge, and then ask ourselves, like, do I want these thoughts and feelings? And if the answer is no, then it's our chimp at work. And if the answer is yes, then it might be something we want to give into, right? Or give into might be the wrong term, but that we want to allow ourselves to do. And I think, like with many things, the awareness is the first step to gaining control. And also not just the awareness, but I also think like the optimism that there's a better way, right? And that that we are in charge and that we are not helpless. We are not victims. We can take over and we can, the limbic system of our brain is where that chimp is. And we can let the frontal lobe take over and we can quiet the emotional catastrophic piece of it that is very impulsive. And we can let the like rational and logical piece take over. This is what teenagers can't do, by the way. Their frontal lobe is not fully developed.
Yeah. And so it doesn't really give me much hope that we as adults can barely do this, but it sort of sounds like this chimp is like our own personal bully, like someone who's like pushing you into decisions you know that are bad for you. It's like, but I'm more powerful than you are. So how do you fight back against that inner emotional symbol bully?
Yeah.
And we've got some tools. Don't think that this is a rhetorical question.
The first tool we just talked about, which is it's the awareness, right? Recognizing who's in charge. And then what's the next one, Erica?
The next one is putting the chimp back in the box with the truth. You can't kill the chimp. We already talked about that. So you just have to manage it. You have to recognize it. And you use the facts that you have and the truth you have to override the chimp's emotional reaction. You use your rational logic to override the emotional reaction of the chimp.
Do you remember when we played basketball in 8th grade together, Erica?
No, because we weren't in 8th grade
I thought
together.
you were 9th grade. Didn't you play basketball on the early team? You're in the picture. No?
No, that's have we met? No, I'm not. I'm in the soccer picture, not basketball. I broke my finger in 7th grade, hence ruining my...
You never boxed anyone out. That was my question.
Oh, I know boxing out. I know about boxing out.
Okay. Well, we didn't do it together.
You forget that I help coach the girls' basketball team. I'm Coach DJ Technomist. I help coach my daughter's team.
Oh, sorry.
And we teach all about boxing
out. Okay, well, you got to box out the chimp. You got to put your butt in your hips and like push that chimp out of the way, you know?
Do you want to... You want to know how we taught the girls to box out?
Yeah, tell me.
Now they're embarrassed by this.
I want to go back to your coach name. Sorry, what is it?
Coach DJ Technomist.
Did they name you that or did you name yourself that?
I may have given myself a DJ name, but I like to play music to get the girls pumped at practice.
I feel like you'd be a great basketball coach.
Thank you.
Okay, tell me how you taught them to box out.
We play Let Me Whip, Let Me Nay Nay, and then the way
Let Me Whip. Listen, you have to be the most fun basketball coach anyone's ever had.
Thank you for saying that. I have very little patience, and so having like 15 kids and 15 young girls in a gym is very overwhelming to my nervous system.
Yeah.
But I do try to make it fun. I think we're going to have close to 20 kids this year. So.
Jeez. Oh, I like that you're still the coach. Now let me whip. I'm just picturing you playing that and the kids like boxing out.
So you like whip and you nay nay, and then when you nay nay, that's how you back out. That's how you box out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
the girls don't like it now. So you want to nay nay.
You want to nay nay the chimp.
You want to nay nay the chimp.
Okay. And yeah, I'm hoping you guys are picking up what we're putting down because this is like good stuff. You know, there's just not a lot of financial podcasts out there where you hear someone say you want to nay nay the chimp.
Yes.
So the point is to finish on what you're saying, like to use a real financial example here, right? When the chimp is trying to redirect you to go, click on that Instagram ad and buy this is a real story. Impulse buy some like teeth whitening product that claims it was like snow whitening something. And it like claims like, the guy's like teeth like instantly turn white. I'm like, that really happens? Like, is this possible?
Also, that can't be safe.
Well, it didn't happen. It was part of it. But yeah, it was like false advertising. And also if it was, you're right. That's probably not a lot. There's a lot of things where the chimp was in charge and my rational, logical brain was not like, but I did see that they had a money back guarantee tied to a future discussion you'll hear on returns with Liz. But the idea is when I see that and it's like late at night and I'm like, I would like my teeth to be whiter. I got to nay that chimp and I got to box it out. And I have to say, you know what? This doesn't quite sound right. Maybe I've got like a dentist appointment next week. Maybe I should ask my dentist what to do. And maybe he's going to end up selling me $15 worth of whitening gel that he tells me to put in the retainer trays I already have. And it turns out that works wonders. And it's recommended by a dentist. And he gives me some other stuff to like help with my teeth sensitivity before the teeth whitening. And it's an amazing solution.
And it's a rational solution.
Yeah.
It makes sense. It's coming from a professional, not from someone who's like, you want white teeth? I've got just the bleach for you. And it's literally just bleach.
Just shake some of this powder on your toothpaste. It didn't even work, so it wasn't bleach, I don't think. But I don't know what it was. Good news in the end since I didn't box them out, in the end I did box them out because I returned that stuff. And they gave me my money back. per their money back guarantee. So at least I followed through on my regrettable decision. But the point is, you got to like metaphorically put that chimp in a box them out, and remember that, that isn't the best example, because let's say I couldn't afford that teeth whitening and it wasn't in line with my spending plan, then that's where I want to be like, wait a minute, I don't need this thing. It's like when I walk through TJ Maxx or somewhere or Target, and it's just like full of things I don't need. And I know I have too much stuff, and I know I want less stuff. But in the moment, sometimes I let my emotions react, and I'm like, oh, it'd be fun to buy this thing, right? That's where I need to box it out and not allow the chimp part of my mind to make the emotional decision. And I need to let the human part of my mind, my frontal lobe, my rational, logical thinking take over. And this is also where we've talked about this, Erica, in many other episodes. I'll put a link to some of them in the show notes. We've talked about the importance of putting some space between the impulse and the action. And when you do, you give time for the human piece of your mind to take over from the chimp.
Yeah, there's so much there that like I'm trying to figure out for myself, with just in general of like distancing between the emotional brain and the rational brain. Because there's so many things that are driven from emotion, so many actions we take.
Yeah.
That you're so emotional, you can't even recognize that you're in that state. And so it's noticing the pattern. So I'll notice if I start a conversation with like, I should do this, like that's a pattern of like, I don't really want to, but there's an obligation there. Like I feel bad, but, and it's like, well, whatever I'm about to say means like, it's like I'm not something I want to do. So like, I have to get like that with the purchasing. I have to figure out what that thing is. Like if there's a feeling that shows up of like, oh, like I bought a pair of shoes online the other day and I was excited for them and they came and they just didn't look as good in person. And I'm like, now I'm feeling kind of crappy about having to send them back, but maybe I should keep them because.
You should send them back.
No, I'm going to send them back. But then I was at a store and saw a pair that I liked even better. They're kind of like similar style and they were cheaper. And I was like, I actually feel a lot better about about buying these, because I feel like it was coming from a rational place as opposed to like, what was I trying to fill by like shopping online for this pair of shoes?
Yeah. So the other piece that Dr. Peters recommends here is, and just to recap this, it's like recognizing who's in charge, boxing the chimp in with the truth, and then the last one is reprogramming the computer. And this is the idea that you can replace those chimp thoughts or the gremlins or these thoughts that are coming in and kind of taking over. And like we said, taking over like 90% of the time. And you can replace them with these positive autopilots. And these are more constructive, helpful beliefs. This is the idea of like what you were just saying, Erica, of like, you and I have talked a lot about like setting better boundaries about like our time and other things. This is the same thing of like boundaries with your money, right? So one of your beliefs and constructive, helpful beliefs to reprogram in the computer might be things like, I'm in control of my financial future. Saving or aligning to my spending plan or my budget or whatever you want to call it is how I'm showing myself love and how I'm prioritizing my own needs. The idea that Dr. Peter talks about is the chimp is actually looking to the computer for guidance. But when the chimp takes over so fast, it doesn't even get a chance to. It's just that monkey mind kind of taking over. By the way, guys, Erica and I are very aware. I'm going to speak for Erica because she's smarter than me, of the fact that like monkeys and chimps are not the same thing. And I know I keep making reference to the monkey mind and then this chimp paradox concept. I realize chimps and monkeys are not the same animal. I just want people to know that. I'm just making a reference to two concepts that I think have a lot of similarities. The point is, we can install these thoughts and these things that are more constructive, helpful beliefs and values. And Erica, this is where, when you make references to Andrew, it's like he already has these autopilots built in from his childhood, from nature versus nurture. Like, who knows, right? I don't know if he was born with it or if it's something that kind of developed throughout his childhood. It doesn't matter, right? We are where we are at this point. And I shouldn't say it doesn't matter. Some people would say, that learning helps. But I think the idea is our brains are all a little bit different and we all think differently on all aspects of life, right? But particularly when we think about like what requires discipline for you and I requires very little discipline for Andrew because it's on autopilot for him, because he's trained his mind to already allow the constructive, helpful beliefs and values that are so important to him to rule so much of his life. And you have not done as much of that. And I've not done as much of that either, right? I'd say we're probably different places, all three of us on the spectrum, as every human is, somewhere different on that spectrum. I think it explains why some things are so much feel easier for him than it does for you, for example.
Yeah, that's what I have a huge curiosity about. And to go back to something somewhat off topic, but you said just before that comment, where the chimp is looking to take control.
Yeah.
And we have to rein in the chimp. It's almost like you have boundaries with that chimp in the same way that you have to, as a parent, show boundaries to a child who's like always looking to push those things like, no, I'm not going to let you eat like an entire bag of candy in one sitting because you're going to get sick. And so we have to be that boundary enforcer for that chimp in our minds and for ourselves to recognize where the limits are. And that's where training the chimp can come in, is the more you can put those in place. Like if we're talking about mindfulness, you have your mantras. So if you can tell the chimp, hey, I'm not going to spend this money now because this is going to benefit us further down the line when we're working towards this.
Yeah, very true. Okay, so this is the type of topic where we could talk about and like riff off this forever. I actually heard some good feedback when we had some like shorter episodes, and I asked people like, do they like 30-minute episodes or hour-long episodes? I got some interesting feedback that was like, when it's just two of you, a lot of people were like, oh, I like 30 to 40-minute episodes. When it's like all of the show hosts on, all of the co-hosts on, I don't mind when it's like an hour, when you've got like 4 people doing expense reviews or something. And I thought that was interesting. And then you have some people who are like, I could listen to you and Liz talk for like, hours or something. And so everybody has a slightly different opinion. But I was saying, some of you might appreciate that we are trying to mix it in with some shorter episodes like this, where we do keep a more focused topic. So in the spirit of that, let's recap this and wrap it up. I think the point here is we all can recognize on various levels that we have these, voices in our heads. Perhaps not Andrew, but most people have these voices in our heads that make these like rash emotional decisions, especially about money. And that voice is our inner chimp. And there are things we can do, which, in case you missed it, we just talked about, to quiet and kind of push that inner chimp to the side, if you will, and allow the other pieces of our brain, which, according to Dr. Peters, are the human and the computer, right? The rational, logical piece of our brain and then the machine that runs the whole system, to let them manage more of these helpful beliefs and put those in the forefront and focus on what we know we want to be for ourselves, and like focus more on fact and logic and rational beliefs. And so I hope this discussion has been helpful for you guys. I think the psychological piece of money and spending habits is, the most fascinating and complex and the hardest part, right? Like you can learn the tactical stuff. Like it's easy. You need to spend less than you make, invest the difference, and you'll be great in life. But that is so much easier said than done. Yeah. And so I hope these topics are helpful.
Sorry, I didn't mean to just chime in and be like, but this is exactly this is what I need to be hearing, what I need to be working on. I'm not just saying this because I know how to do it. I'm saying it because I want to do it.
Yeah. And I'm going through a phase of life in the last year or two, probably maybe even just since early retirement, where I have a lot more kind of free time and agency and autonomy. And I'm actually noticing the chimp taking over a lot more in my financial decisions. But I rationally know like what's important to me and that I want less stuff and that I'm overwhelmed by the amount of things I own. And so this is a timely discussion for me too, because I want to quiet the chimp. You know how I've been wanting to do like rubber duckies for Inside Out Money? Maybe we need little chimps, except I guess we don't want the chimp to be even more front and center. So maybe we need the duck to help with the chimp.
Which one comes in tie-dye?
Yeah, that's a good question. And we'll take this offline and we'll figure it out. We'll solve it for you. Don't worry. This is our problem to solve for. But on that note, when we start getting off onto these tangents, I always know it's a good time to close things up.
Yeah.
So we appreciate you guys.
When they're tangents about spending money.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. Buying 100 little baby chimps or 100 little tie-dye ducks, which I'm still in the market for. If anyone's got any leads, hit your girl up. If I see a late night Instagram ad for tie-dye ducks, I'm going to let the chimp take over on that one.
I'll allow it.
Yeah, I know. That'd actually be good. That's really not the chimp. That's the human. On that note, thank you for listening. We always appreciate when you guys spend some time with us. If this episode was helpful, we really love it. Let that chimp take over right now and go leave us a written review on Apple Podcasts. Whatever else important thing you had to do right now, don't do that. Go leave us a review. That'd be awesome. We really appreciate it.
We also encourage you to share this with a friend or family member to encourage ongoing discussions about money and what their inner chimp leads them to pursue. You can also subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you have thoughts or questions, we'd love to hear from you. And you can leave us a voicemail or text us at 404-981-3370 or hit us up on Instagram.
Awesome. Thanks, Erica.
Thanks, Maggie.
Bye.
Bye.